Let's get some insight into the Polaris Dawn's mission. We're joined now by former NASA astronaut Leroy Chiao. Leroy, good morning. It's good to see you. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, it sounds quite risky. It'll be the first spacewalk conducted by non-professional astronauts.
Well, that's right. And it is a big deal, huge deal. In addition to that, they're testing a brand new spacesuit that's never been tried in space before. They're going to have to depressurize the entire spacecraft because there's no separate airlock. And so everybody will be at vacuum in their suits. And so it does entail more risk. But at the same time, I do know several of the folks, the senior folks over at SpaceX, and I know they're very much dedicated to safety. So I have confidence that they have properly trained and take care of and manage the risks as much as possible. So I would expect everything to go, without any kind of significant incident. However, there's no denying the risk is there.
They're going to test spacesuits that's never been used before in space. That sounds a bit jarring to me. Tell us more about what will happen during this spacewalk. Like, walk us through, what happens inside the capsule and who's going out and who's
Sure.
holding on to the umbilical cord.
Right. So everyone's going to be going to vacuum inside the spacecraft. So everybody will have to put on the spacesuits that were designed to operate in the open space environment. They'll depressurize the cabin. That'll take a bit, take probably around, I would guess, around 20, 30 minutes to go through the whole process. And then two of them are going to go out and basically kind of translate around on some handholds and evaluate the performance of the suit. Get some spectacular views of the Earth. But, as far as objectives go, it's really to get outside, get a little bit of experience moving around, and then, evaluating the performance of the suit. So this is a custom suit that's been designed by SpaceX, with some help, I'm sure. But it is a brand new suit. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Excuse me. So 40 experiments they're going to be conducting before and after the spacewalk. Can you talk to us about some of these experiments and them attempting to take X-ray images without an X-ray machine, since they'll be out with natural radiation? That's fascinating.
Right. So they are going to be brushing the Van Allen belts, the lower Van Allen belts, and so they'll be exposed to the charged particles that are trapped there, basically particles coming from the sun. And I don't know the details of the science experiments they're going to be doing, but you could conceivably do some of what you're talking about, is try to do some imaging using the background radiation. Like, again, I'm not super familiar with their science package.
So just big picture here, the fact that there are no professional astronauts on board. I mean, what does the future hold then when it comes to private space flight?
Well, this is an interesting kind of a transition period because, of course, in the past you had professional astronauts, then you had some former professional astronauts go fly on some of these missions, or at least be the commander. And now you're seeing, an individual, Jared Isaacman, who's able to personally fund these missions and bring other people in to be trained. And he himself is a trained jet pilot. And so he's had the resources to be able to do that. But, in the future, I would envision companies like SpaceX having their own astronaut corps. In other words, not necessarily people who were former NASA, but eventually becoming, bringing in and training their own astronauts. So I think we're seeing just the very, very beginning of that kind of thing.
Leroy Chiao, it's great to see you. Thank you.